Welcome back to 5-Minute Fridays, where we do tech tutorials in 5 minutes or less. Today is going to be a little bit different. Normally I do some coding tutorials and things of that nature, but today what we're going to do is I'm going to go over my top 5 programming languages that I think you should learn or think about learning in 2021. Maybe you're just starting out learning to code. Maybe you already know some coding and you want to broaden your horizons and expand out a little bit. Maybe you want to see if your coding skills are still relevant in 2021. So I'm going to talk about all of these and I'm going to go into detail in each of these 5. Little disclaimer, these are not going to be in any particular order. I'm kind of just breaking them up and telling you what they're useful for. So it really depends on what you're trying to do with code, and that's going to determine what is going to be the most useful for you. And just real quick before we get started, I just want to let you know I did start a Discord server where we're going to talk about code. We're going to talk about tech career stuff, portfolios, resumes, that kind of thing, and we're going to talk about, we're just chatting as well. So if you want to join that, there's a link in the description box below, so go check that out if you want to join the conversation. Okay, first up we have Go, also known as Golang. Golang was created by 2 Google employees back in 2012, and its popularity has been growing really rapidly, especially in the past few years. So Go is typically used to build servers, and according to a 2020 State of Software Engineers report by Hired, Golang is the most demanded programming language globally based on the number of interview requests per candidate. It has been adopted by Dropbox, Apple, IBM, and YouTube, among many others. It's got an easy syntax to learn. It's really easy for beginners to pick up and learn the syntax. So if you're new to programming, it might be a good idea to start here, especially if you're interested in back-end stuff. And according to ZipRecruiter, the average US salary for a Go developer is $110,000. So next up is C#. C# is one of the most popular programming languages in the world, and it is used to do a lot of things like build web applications. One of the most popular game engines, Unity, is built using C# and also C++. So if you're someone who's interested in game development, this could be a really good place for you to start. C# is used by Microsoft, Accenture, Stack Overflow, and Intuit. And a Unity game developer can make on average $95,000 a year, according to ZipRecruiter. All right, so next up we have C++. Like I mentioned before, it's one of the 2 programming languages that are used to build the Unity gaming engine. And apart from games, it's also used in applications, animations, building web browsers, compilers, OSs. I mean, the list goes on and on. I think the most interesting thing to me is that the SpaceX Dragon crew built their flight software using C++ as their main technology. According to Indeed, C++ developers can make on average $104,000 per year. All right, next up we have Python. Python is used in many different situations, most notably in cryptography, machine learning, and AI. It's also used to build back-end web applications. It has a very easy to learn syntax. Again, like Golang, it's very easy for a beginner to pick up and start learning. It's really good for teaching computer science fundamentals. It's personally one of my favorite coding languages. Companies like Google and YouTube use Python, along with Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, Amazon, and Netflix. The NRA actually uses it in cryptography and intelligence analysis. And GitHub showed that in 2019, it was the 2nd most popular programming language. As a Python developer, you can expect to earn an average of $111,000 per year, according to Indeed. And lastly, this is my personal favorite, we have JavaScript. So JavaScript is called the language of the web, and it is for a good reason, because it is everywhere. So if you want to do anything that involves web development, then JavaScript is the way to go. It has a huge library of packages and, of course, libraries and frameworks that you can learn and use to enhance your code. And I mean, it's just a very versatile language, and it's used on the front end, it's used on the back end. And I mean, it is everywhere. It's used by Microsoft, Netflix, Uber, PayPal, Facebook, eBay, Google, Walmart. I mean, just about any company you can think of that has some sort of online presence is going to be using JavaScript in some way. Even SpaceX uses this, what they call a reactive front-end library built on top of JavaScript that they actually built in-house for their Crew Dragon astronaut interface that the astronauts actually, it's like this touchscreen interface. And so I thought that was really cool. So, I mean, my personal opinion is if you want to get a job fast in this industry, then learn JavaScript first. And JavaScript developers earn on average $113,000 per year, according to Indeed. Just a disclaimer again, keep in mind that these salaries are all the average number. So, of course, when you're starting out, you're most likely going to make less than that, and then you just work your way up. In a couple of years, maybe you'll make it to that average, maybe you'll be a little under, maybe a little bit over, I don't know. But just keep that in mind. That's not to discourage you, but that's actually to excite you. That's something to work for, but don't have your expectation on I'm going to be making this out of the gate. All right, so that's been another 5-Minute Friday. I hope you learned something. I'd like to know what your 5 favorite programming languages are. Leave those down in the comments. And with that, I will see you next Friday.